How are you? Thank you for staying. I appreciate that. You could have gone with early dismissal, as I understand it, but you are troopers, so I'm delighted to be with you. I wish we were on the steps of the Capitol, for those of you who are seniors, and not to be this year, but I also hope that everyone is well, that your families are well, and that you all are coping with what has been an extraordinary year for everyone, and a lot of repercussions. And I just saw on one of the displays coming over, and I mean this very sincerely, that you take the opportunity to, if you're struggling with anything, is to reach out. If I can get this mic off, I can get from behind here, but I'll keep my distance. That you can reach out to someone, a peer or something. It's crazy times, and I've had a very big concern about how youngsters, and you're older, but just young people in general are and have been responding to the pandemic. So, and in any case, I am really delighted to be with you. I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth. I got on a train at 10 minutes to 5 this morning from Washington so that I could be here to be with you, because I didn't want to miss this opportunity. I enjoy the opportunity for the interaction with young people, and what's on your minds, what questions you have. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about my job, and then we'll open it up. Rosa DeLauro, born and raised in the city of New Haven, and I serve as the Congresswoman from the 3rd District of Connecticut. How many districts do we have in the congressional districts in the state of Connecticut? Yo! What? How many? 11. Okay. You want to take early dismissal? All right. Go ahead. 5. Does anyone know how you make a determination of those 5 of the districts? Okay, I'll tell you, you guys are way ahead of the game here. So, but you don't know about me. As I said, born and raised in the city of New Haven, have this great job that I have. I am blessed to have the job, and I'll explain in a little bit. Daughter of an immigrant family. Dad came in 1913. Only went to the 7th grade because he couldn't read or write the English language. The classmates and teachers laughed at him, so he walked out of formal education at a young age. But served his community, served in the military, and served on the city council in the city of New Haven. My mom, garment worker, worked in the old sweatshops in the city of New Haven as well, also with immigrant women who worked piecework. If you know what piecework is, you got paid by the number of garments that you produced, so forth. An unbelievably awful environment in which to work, with a loud noise, dirty, etc., and hunched over a sewing machine for all those hours. And sometimes in the needle trades, because those machines go so quickly, you power them on and you power them off. They all go on at one time, they go off at one time. You could get the needle in your finger. But you didn't go and get a tetanus shot. You didn't go to a clinic, etc. You just wrapped your hand up, because if you got a drop of blood on the garment, then you wouldn't get paid for it. So I'm going to try to do this so I can walk around. Hang on. So the point being is, I am the daughter of an immigrant family who could truly only dare to dream that their daughter would sit in the United States House of Representatives. And I say that because it is, for me, a great privilege to serve in the House of Representatives. It doesn't always do what you want it to do, but in fact, it has the power, it has the potential to make a difference in your life, the lives of your families, and everyone, and particularly over this last year, which I hope somebody will ask me a question about. What do I do? What is my job? A couple parts of the job. Get to be here today with all of you. From here, I will go to West Haven. It's Memorial Day weekend, and I will go to the Veterans Hospital, and we will do a memorial service there. On Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I will march in Memorial Day parades in a number of cities and towns in the 3rd Congressional District. And in that 3rd Congressional District, I represent all of you and your families if you live within the 25 towns in the district. So New Haven, East Haven, Hamden, Durham, Middlefield, Middletown, etc. You get it, all of these towns that I represent. Roughly, the districts are about 750,000 people, and as you pointed out before, it's based on population, etc. So we have 5. California will have 50 or 60 members. So again, parts of the job. Here, I will march. Next week, I will do a bunch of events, meeting with specific groups. I'll go to a school and talk about reopening and what's happened with there, because the school has been shuttered since last year. I will meet with business people. I meet with school personnel. I meet with union people, etc. And what do I do with the information that I get? I take that back and look at what are the issues that come out of that are going on in our community. What are people facing? What are the challenges in their lives? And with that, then how do we then translate that into what the federal government response can be? And just a couple of examples that happened over this year. What we found was that because of the pandemic, restaurants going out of business, laying people off, not able to really stay afloat. And so what we did in the relief packages that we put together, we did if you will call it, a restaurant relief program to provide assistance and help to restaurants so that they could hire people back, stay in business, and stay in business and be able to make a living. We found that the child care industry collapsed. And if parents don't have a place to put their children and young children, then they're going to stay home with them. This has affected mainly women, and women, we've lost 2.3 million jobs. Women have lost 2.3 million jobs, primarily as a result of a lack of child care. So we increased the amount of money in the President's American Rescue Plan just a few months ago by $50 billion to bail out. In the state of Connecticut, it's 48,000 youngsters who are going to be unable to get child care now can be able to do it. I could go on. The vaccines. Getting the vaccines out, getting them distributed so that we can turn the corner on the pandemic. So many things have come up in this year. We saw the collapse of an unemployment system because the claims on the unemployment system, because so many people were out of work, that the system was not in shape to do so, to handle it. Antiquated technology, lack of personnel, trained personnel. So what we've done now in the jobs bill that the president has just moved forward on is to increase the funding for the infrastructure, if you will, of the unemployment system. Our public health infrastructure system collapsed. These are laboratories in our state which are responsible for the health of the people, and they deal with illnesses. They did not have the capability in order to do the kind of sequencing, the genome sequencing, and all these other things. So it became our immediate goal was to be able to provide rebuild, if you will, this infrastructure. People who are unemployed, $1,400 in direct payments, $300 in unemployment benefits, training, money for mental health issues at a great rate. I mention this because so much is in the money for state and local government. Money for state and local government who have lost revenue, etc., so that they could continue to deal with the services that they are obligated to provide to all of you and to your families in your cities and towns. So that is, when I say you translate the need to the federal government, then it says that this is, you know, how we can help people with something that has been an overwhelming challenge in their lives and that they cannot contend with. I'll say one more in that regard. If you understand that the United States is a land of plenty in terms of food, and yet people did not have the wherewithal to put food on the table during this period of time. Now, that's been true before the pandemic, but exacerbated by the pandemic. And so we increased the funding for food stamps, for nutrition programs. And I don't know if any of you saw the farm-to-family boxes of food that were distributed around the state here and around the country as well. And the other thing that the pandemic exposed were the inequities, the disparities that have existed in health, the racial disparities, the economic disparities, which is, as we move forward, we have to change. And this is what the federal government has been engaged in over the last year, almost a year and a half now. It is a year and a half. So that's the response. The other side of what I do is laws, making the laws for the country. I'll just give you a couple examples. What are the issues that interest all of you? Now, I know I've got several letters, I think from 8 individuals that have asked me about a bunch of things. I will get that letter to you, but I can't thank you enough. Is there anyone here who's written a letter? Raise your hand. Okay, yeah. Okay, you know, I mean, I can answer it here, but I've got a letter for you, which I will get. We will get to you within the next couple of days. But thank you. I thank you for the letters, and lots of it had to do with specific legislation that people care about. What do we do? Let me just take the environment. How many people here care about the environment? Okay. What particularly? What particularly do you care about in the environment? Go ahead.
Cleaning the streets, preventing waste in the streets.
Okay, all right. What else? Climate change. Yes, yeah. What kind of conservation? Wildlife conservation. Yes, back there with the red jersey. Fish? Well, you can, but you have to. You can, but you got to know what you're eating and how much mercury is in the fish. So that's good. So that's pollution. That's pollution and what happens and how that translates to health and eating. Yes, ma'am. Waste management. Back there, yeah. What? Deforestation. Yes. Okay, let me come over here. Anybody? I'm just look at the range of the issues that you're talking about. Yeah, go ahead. Carbon emissions. Yo. The Okay, all right. Let me just tell you, do you see all of these issues? Where do you think they get adjudicated? Where do you think we do this? Where do you think they're addressed? In the United States Congress. United States Congress, and I'm going to be frank, and I'm not political about these things. We have spent the last several years, a lot of people who are serving public office, denying climate change, which we know is a serious threat to the United States. We know about carbon emissions. We know about deforestation. We vote on these issues. And in the president's budget, which is coming out today, he is talking about the electrifying cars, dealing with the charging stations. It's focused on energy and sustainability and clean air, clean water, all of these efforts. But we vote on these issues in the House of Representatives and in the United States Senate. And that means you need to know what I do and what I am about, because quite frankly, it's not about me. It is about you and your future and the future of the planet. So you need to be engaged, understand what those issues are, what you care about, and you need to take a look at who are the people who are voting, and are they voting in your best interest? What other issues do you care about? War and peace. We vote about whether or not the United States goes to war. And you know what? Members of Congress are too old. We don't go. But we vote on it. And we know that we lose young lives. Young lives. So you need to understand that how this affects, what we do, how it affects your lives. Anybody here care about gun violence? Okay? We vote on those issues, whether it's background checks, whether or not you ban assault weapons or high-capacity magazines. And I don't know where, it doesn't make any difference where you are on the spectrum, of what you care about, and what your position is, but we vote about these issues. Education. We provide, the federal government provides, the state government mostly provides money for education, but we provide a portion of it. We don't tell the states how to, spread it around, but we provide the resources for education. For the public school system. And there's some money for charter schools as well. In the tax code, we provide help to your parents to be able to get you to go to school, to go to college. We do Pell Grants, we do Perkins loans, we do TRIO, Gear Up, all of these programs that affect your life, don't affect my life. I went through school. I don't sit in the small chairs anymore. But these are the issues that we focus on every single day, and we vote. I cast thousands of votes. And so again, you get the point, you're smart kids. You need to understand and know what it is that we do in order that you participate in the debate and the discussion of the things that you care about and that you want government to do on your behalf and on behalf of your families. Just a couple more points I would make to you. And what we do in the Congress is we deliberate, we debate. We don't do it with our fists or with weapons and so forth, but a lot of very, heated debate oftentimes, etc. And I always say this, what my job is, if I've got an idea, I need to sell you on the idea because I need to get a coalition of people to pass the legislation. We need, roughly now it's probably 213 because there's some seats that are not filled in the House, but normally it's we need 218 votes to pass any piece of legislation. Did you ever try to decide with your friends on a weekend about going to a movie? How many hours does it take to figure that out? And you're doing it with a small number of people. Imagine trying to get 218 people to say yes. People coming from all parts of the country. And so that is what our task is, and the debate is important because I have an idea. I want to see if you can support my idea, and I'm going to try to sell it to you. You then can come back with some ideas that helps to make my idea better, or you may have a better idea in which you get me to cross over to your point of view. That is the power of the debate that we are engaged in. And again, one final thought to you. I want to just say that don't ever be afraid. Don't ever be afraid, even if you're the only person who holds a point of view, of standing up and defending what you believe in. Don't. You know, you think about things, you have points of view, and get out there. Speak up. Stand up for the things that you believe in. And you can make a difference. You can persuade people to your point of view. There's a woman, Jeanette Rankin, who was the first woman to serve in the House of Representatives, and she voted against the First World War, and as it turned out, she was there with the Second World War. Both times she voted no. I cannot vote for war. So she stood out. She was not afraid to stand up for her beliefs. So with that, I'm going to hush up, and then let me just take questions from you guys. Yes? I'm sorry? Oh, well, people get to this, to get to be members of Congress from a variety of different, venues. In my own case, both of my parents were very, very much engaged in public life. As I said, my dad served on the city council. My mother served on the city council in New Haven for 35 years. She was the longest serving member, not the longest serving woman, but the longest serving member. So I grew up in a household in which the issue of policy and politics were, always a part of the discussion. I didn't know until, I didn't think about it as in high school, or that this is the road I would take, but ultimately that's what I gravitated toward and did it. Now, I was yesterday with my colleague in the Senate, Patty Murray. She's from Washington State. Patty Murray, there was in her town, they were going to cut an early childhood program, and she was opposed to it. This is very interesting because she was told that she wasn't going to be able to make a difference in doing anything about this. Well, what she did was she organized 13,000 parents, and lo and behold, that program wasn't cut. She subsequently ran for the State House in Washington State, and now she serves in the United States Senate. So sometimes people come from an issue. A lot of, sometimes environmental, education issues where they want to make their voices heard. But I served with Ben Nighthorse Campbell, one of the first Native Americans to serve in the House of Representatives, and he was an artist by trade. So you come from different venues and different perspectives, point of view, issues that drive you to seek election. Okay? Yes?
How do you plan to keep it more affordable, I guess, to live by also offering like the assistance programs that you were?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Because important question. And I'll just answer it in this way. First of all, we're at a time when it is a crisis. You understand you're not old enough, but you studied enough to know about the Second World War. We had to rev up production. We had to do what we needed to do in order to fight the Second World War. So you spent dollars in order to be able to conquer what happened here. So it's the same with this. This is a crisis, the likes of which we have not seen in a century. And so it is billions of dollars. I'll make one other point to you. You've got to take a look at, because it's where your priorities are. Where are you spending the money? And you have to look at that. Some of you may agree or disagree with me. In 2017, we passed a tax bill that really benefited the 1/10 of 1% of the wealthiest people in the United States. If you don't believe me, read about it. Again, you're bright, smart kids. Look at it. It was said at the time that that was going to create jobs. Well, in fact, those who got the benefit of that tax cut, in large measure, outsourced their jobs overseas, and many of the companies or the corporations bought back their stock so that there was no job creation. And working people, middle-class families, the vulnerable, did not get the benefit of that largesse of the federal government. We need to think about what our priorities are. What are we going to do to provide young people with the opportunity for an education and make that affordable? Like we're thinking about 2 years of community college of being free. Instead of just going K through 12, we get that 2 other years is what's being proposed. What do we do for youngsters at the other end of the scale? Universal pre-K for people. What do we do about health and making health care affordable? And when you do that, you just say that you're not going to, and this is important for your families, that your health care premium is not going to be more than 8.5% of your income, so that you can afford health care to take care of yourself and your family. What are we going to spend on a child tax credit to reduce, to provide a lifeline to middle-class families and cut childhood poverty by over 55% in this country? That's what the child tax credit will do. I started talking about what kind of funding are we putting into the mental health services? What kind of funding have we put in to keep the schools open? You guys have been open since October. Some people are just going back. And youngsters have lost, some, gravitated to remote learning. I've got 4 grandchildren. 3 out of the 4 of them, did fine with remote learning. One of them, he's had a very difficult time. So what are we doing to make sure the schools are safe, your teachers are safe, and you are safe while you're here? You got to think about where your priorities are and make that difference. Who else? Come on, guys. Do it up. Yeah, go ahead. Wait a minute, you hold on. I'm going to go back there, okay? Yeah, go ahead.
How do you think we should be, protecting our veterans from issues like unemployment and,
Yeah.
a lot of them don't live too hard after serving?
Yeah, no, you're very good, and it's appropriate for this weekend. There's several items. One is employment. And there are a lot of programs, and I chair the committee that deals with the Department of Labor and job training. The other thing is there is enormous homelessness, 100% of homelessness. And so that what we need to do is to look at the homeless population, figure out how they get housing, what can we do, what are the services that are necessary to keep them safe. The other piece of this is that one of the highest suicide rates in the country is amongst veterans. And usually it's, they've got a gun and they come to the end of the tether and they wind up just killing themselves. So big issues. And one of my responses to that is, and I've appropriated, I sit on the Appropriations Committee. What does that mean? That's the committee that gives the money out, okay? For 20 years, we were unable to do any gun violence prevention research, just basic research, because, and I'll, again, frank with you, I don't know where you're coming from on these issues, the gun lobby prevented any of the research from being done. And they said anything that could potentially lead to gun control, we could not deal with. So we broke the, and I'll be very self-serving, I broke that logjam 4 years ago, and for the first time, we had a hearing on gun violence research prevention, but it goes right to your questions about what is happening to veterans. Why is this happening? And that we can work with the VA, nationally with the VA, but I work very closely with the West Haven Veterans Administration on these issues. Good question. Thanks. Yes?
When you see your colleagues on either side of the aisle who are constantly in the news for some pretty awful stuff, how do you, do you have any power to, control them or, I don't know how to explain it.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, look, people are elected. I get elected to this job, so the people who can say yay or nay to me vote for me or they vote against me, okay? However, I don't know recently if you've, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who talked about what's happening with wearing masks or not wearing masks in the House of Representatives, denial of freedom, which was akin to the Holocaust. I mean, it defies imagination. But the leadership of the party can come out and, just say that's unacceptable. If there is a felony charge or things of that nature, then oftentimes an individual will resign or be asked to resign by their party leadership, or asked to step aside until something is, if there's an investigation, because everyone is entitled to due process, that they can, get heard, etc. But for a lot of the instances, what you can't do is just willy-nilly undo the electoral process of someone getting elected to the body, either the House or the Senate. Sometimes it's the public pressure that then, gets the person to resign or, et cetera. So we have taken a couple of things which we have been able to do in this time. We've had a number of new members who have come who wanted to carry firearms to the floor of the House, which is not acceptable. So now what we have to go into the House of Representatives, at the doors going into the chamber, there's the magnometer that you go through just to check, because people were bringing guns to the floor of the House of Representatives. And anyway, I was there on January 6th. I was evacuated from the House gallery when the insurrectionists, they stormed the Capitol. They breached the Capitol. And you've seen the news footage, etc., which was real. Happened, even though some people want to deny that it happened. Other questions? Yes. Go ahead, and I'm coming back over here. Yes.
How did you feel during the Capitol riots? What was going through your head?
Well, I'll just tell you, if you give me a second. I went, I go to the Capitol every day, but this was the day on which the House and the Senate were going to get a reading of the electoral votes. It was a constitutional duty to count the electoral votes, and thereby certifying the election of President Biden and Vice President Harris. So since it was being challenged, what I wanted to do was it's never been challenged. Usually it's a pro forma. You go in, they count the thing, and it's done. It's not been challenged. So the challenge then was from Arizona, Pennsylvania, a couple of other places. I wanted to hear the debate because I thought it was historic. And since Connecticut was not being challenged, only the people on actually the floor of the House, not literally on the floor, but where the dais is, that were making their case, they were there. So I went and I sat in the gallery to listen to the debate because I thought it was a historic moment. And was listening to the debate. It started with Arizona, and all of a sudden, I saw the people come in, evacuate the Speaker of the House, evacuate the Majority Leader and the Majority Whip, etc. So we clearly knew something was up. The Capitol Police came to the podium and said that the Capitol had been breached, that the insurrectionists were in the rotunda of the Capitol, and they were making their way to the floor of the House of Representatives. Now, that's a very short walk there. And they said, grab a gas mask. I never even knew we had gas masks in the House chamber. Congressman Himes was there as well from Connecticut, and a number of other members and some press people as well. And so we grabbed the gas mask, but no sooner than we did that, the Capitol Police came back and they said, we have to evacuate you now. So just grab your things and then, move, go. We were, as I said, in the gallery, and so we began to go around the perimeter of the gallery, and there are railings, so it's not contiguous. You've got to go under the railings, and so one of my colleagues, in a moment of dark humor, that says it's a little bit like doing the limbo here, we just keep going under. And then when we got around to the door where they were going to try to evacuate us, the personnel, the Capitol Police said, hit the floor, because there were gunshots. And you could see that the main doors to the House chamber had been shattered. And we had Capitol Police with guns drawn, but they had barricaded the door. So they told us to hit the ground, which we did. We crouched behind the seats and waited. And I'll be very personal in this. I wasn't scared, but we knew it was a danger. I knew we were in a very dangerous situation here, and whether or not they were going to be able to get us out. So I had very little juice left on my phone, and I called my husband. And I'll be very honest, I was afraid to say him, I love you, because 9/11, people who made calls on 9/11, it was the last communication so many had with their families, because they perished on 9/11. So I didn't want to alarm him, but I just said, I'm okay. They're going to get us out of here. Just let the kids know I'm all right. And it was a short time later, we were there maybe for 20 minutes, lying flat on the ground, behind the seats. There was a loud banging at the door that we were going to go out. We thought we were going to move, and the Capitol Police said, just wait, because they weren't sure that the rioters were not the people at the door. So they had to make sure that the door was secure so we could get out. And they did that. They got us out. And as we moved our way down the stairwells through the tunnels, really right up outside that door, flat on the ground, spread-eagled, were a number of the rioters with the Capitol Police with guns over them, so forth. So I had no idea, none of us did, what was happening outside, and only saw that footage later in the day. They did get us to safety. Capitol Police were remarkable, because it wasn't only members of Congress, there was staff. I had a young staff, a young man, Harper, with me, and he came over to the Capitol with him. So I said, hey, wait in the office here. I should be down in an hour and a half, and we'll work from here. He wound up being barricaded in that office for most of the day until the Capitol Police were able to escort him out and get him back to the office, because the rioters were in the halls. I didn't see that until I saw the footage afterward. So it was an assault. How did I feel? I got a long time in getting to the end of your question. It was an assault. It was an assault on a constitutional activity that we were engaged in to certify the election of the President of the United States. And it was assault not only on individuals, staff and members, and lots of young people like yourselves work in the Capitol. I'm sure their parents were frightened, and they were frightened. And the Capitol Police, where we lost lives and over 140 injured. So it was an assault on democracy. And I don't understand not wanting to have a commission to look into it because we need to know what happened that day. Sorry for so long, but so. My friend, okay, I'm going to hold on to you. I'm not going to forget you, but I'm just going to try to see what I have over here. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you. What the best part of my job, and you're going to think that this is a corny answer. I get to be with you guys. The best part is the interaction. It's the interaction with people, where you find out so much about what's happening in people's lives, what's going on, And in order to do the job, in my view, that's what you have to walk in people's shoes. You have to know what's going on, because that's the only way that you can translate to what is going to make that difference in their lives, But it's good because you're young, you've got energy, you've got thoughts, you've got ideas, and what we should do and how we should do it. And that's, all these eyes on looking at the problems that we have and how we can address them. So that's the best part. Also, winning a vote is not so shabby either. Winning a vote is good. I did last Thursday, won by one vote, so you think that people don't matter. And it was around the security of the Capitol. Because I sit on the Appropriations Committee, as I said, and we were charged with putting together the emergency funding for the safety of the Capitol and all who visit, etc. So one vote. There was another question here, yes.
I was just wondering, I don't know if you're allowed to tell us, have there been any votes recently on sending aid to Palestinians?
Yes. No, there has been, but there will be coming up. And it will be, because unfortunately, with regard to the last administration, the dollars were cut off for humanitarian aid to Gaza. So that has been being reinstated, and my sense is that there will be additional funding, for Palestinians, yes, and the humanitarian causes, because it's really, yeah. So, oh, okay, I'm told I'm going to take two more because I promised this young man I would get him, and then I'll do the one more because they're telling me I have to go. Yeah, go ahead.
How has the pandemic affected your life and your job?
Yeah, well, God, it's well, yes. First of all, the offices, my office is both in Washington and in Connecticut. I sent people home to work from home, and I'm working from home. I will just tell you, the days still now have no beginning. They have no end. I spend more time Zooming than, it's a blessing, but it's a curse, because it's easy access. And the weekdays don't make any difference. But it is that sense of isolation, no social interaction. We went back in the Washington office last Monday. Most of the staff came back. It was like, this is over a year, as you all know. People were beside themselves just to be with one another again, to have interaction, to be able to, to go to your desk, go to the back office and see people and talk to them, to interact. So it's profound. And, sometimes I find myself sitting in a chair by the computer for, hours in the day. And, you get to a point where you got to get out. You just got to go out and do something, So it's been tough. And one of the hardest things, I have 6 grandkids, and not being able to, until recently, because now they're mostly, all except one, are vaccinated, you couldn't hug them, you couldn't, you see them at a distance, you do a lot of FaceTime, etc. And I'm sure this is true of your grandparents, and if you can't see them and they can't see you, as a grandparent, you always figure that they're going to forget you, So it hasn't happened, but in any case, it's wonderful now to be able to, to hold them and to hug them. So it's been tough. It's been tough. There was a question back there, and then we'll wrap it up.
What do you think are the chances of a bill
Well, I think that that's going to, it looks like they're close in the state legislature in Connecticut. It's very tough at the federal level. Very, very tough. I would support the legislation if it comes up, but it's not likely to come up. And that is what's happening now between, it passes at the State House, and it has in some, but then there is a federal law that says no. And in that context, you've got a lot of banks and the people who provide capital for those who go into business in any shape or form with regard to this issue. They can't get the capital to go forward. And then it's working at the state level, but then you're in violation of a federal regulation. But with regard to the federal, relaxing on that, no time soon, my friend. No time soon. All right, it's one more. That's it.
What is your stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Yeah, okay, sure. Happy to answer that question. I am a supporter of Israel, but I think the evictions should stop. I don't think we can go down that road. I'm a supporter of a two-state solution, and I believe that we cannot, if we need a two-state solution, advocated. I've been to Israel many times. And even before I was elected to the Congress, I'm married to Stan Greenberg. But many times I've been to the West Bank, I've been to Ramallah, been to Gaza. I've stood on a bunker overlooking the valley there. But we need a two-state solution. The United States should be a broker of that two-state solution. We should not have willy-nilly annexations, and they should stop evicting people, taking their houses down, etc. On the other hand, you got rocket fire going in. On one hand, that cannot be tolerated as well. But again, the United States should be the broker of a two-state solution, and not and we need to provide, my friend over there talked about the humanitarian aid. We should be providing that humanitarian aid so that the folks who are living in Gaza don't have to be dependent on Hamas, but know that they can be well taken care of, and that they can not feel under the thumb of Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. So. Okay, thank all of you. Listen, have a great weekend, guys. Have a great, great weekend. Take care of yourselves. How many seniors are here? Okay. You all set for next year? No? You don't know what you're doing yet? Anybody know where they're going to school or what? Yeah, where? Oh, wait. Fabulous. And who else? UConn. Woo! All right. Endicott. All right, great. Yes, back there. Oh, great. It's a great school. Yeah? Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Yale. Okay. Wow. Listen, and anybody, look, you guys want to be? That's not too shabby either. Yeah. I'm a townie, born and raised in the city of New Haven, so. And that was, I went to college before they allowed women to attend Yale, but now they're there. So I would just say to you, if you guys are interested in internships or so forth in congressional offices, let us know. Thank you. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Can I do a quick photo?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, real quick, before you go, we're going to do